Hey everybody, welcome back to MACkiteboarding Foil Fridays. Today I have a really unique and exciting foil to tell you about, and that is the Triton X1 monofoil here. You may have seen their other foil around. It's been around for a bit longer now. The T1, and I did a review on that not long ago, kite foiling. This is their larger X1 version. So this one has been redesigned for larger riders wing foiling, or larger riders kite foiling, and really any rider wing foiling or riding a bigger craft like that, surf foiling, etc. But really for a rider like me, 200 pounds, this is a great crossover foil for wing foiling and kite foiling. I know it's kind of marketed towards the wing foil crowd, but I'm here to tell you, if you're over about 170 pounds and you're free ride foiling, the X1 is an amazing setup for kite foiling as well, and also just kind of any general wave foiling where you want a lot of maneuverability and playfulness out of your foil. And yeah, so let's get into it. I'll show you around this brand new foil system here and give you my review and what my thoughts are on it a bit more in depth here at the end of the video. All right, so we got the X1 foil. We won't just talk about the front wing, or the wing here, not front wing, I guess the only wing. It's a monofoil, so that means there's no stabilizer. Usually we'd have a fuselage and a stabilizer here. For this foil, it is a monofoil, so that means it's only one wing, and the stabilizer is kind of built into the wing shape. If you notice, it kind of curves in here and gives you that upward drive from the back end of the wing. You can kind of see that there, how it does that. Sort of like a B-2 bomber airplane kind of a thing. So this is a very unique foil. You're not really going to see a lot else out there from anyone else that's going to, have a similar setup to this. You notice I said it's a new foil system, not just a front wing, because they have redesigned their mast to deal with the additional loads of a larger wing like this, and just to stiffen up the entire system in general. So down at the bottom of the mast here, we have a load dispersion plate that fits really nice and flush into this, very smooth and seamless, and that just helps stiffen that connection between the front, or between the wing and the mast here. Just direct connection with screws, it's really good, but this is even better. It's even stiffer. It's going to help disperse that load and handle the stresses of that heavier riders and larger foil when you're wing foiling or kite foiling. Into the mast here, it is very stiff aluminum mast, very efficient, big enough, not too big, 85 centimeters, the size I have here. That's kind of your standard size. And then going into the plate, we have a new system here where we've got some mast screws here, and then an additional sacrificial anode here to help you deal with any kind of corrosion. That's going to go to this sort of washer screw here rather than the rest of the foil, and that is a replaceable part, so that if it gets really nasty and corroded, it's not really doing much, so it doesn't matter, but you can still replace it if need be. So that is some of what's going on here with the build of that. Looking at the shape of this wing, you'll notice it has quite a bit of dihedral in the shape. It's almost shaped like a bit of a bowl, and you can see how that is here. So it really wants to roll from edge to edge very fluidly and easily, and then connect those turns. This particular foil is 1,885 centimeters squared. That's the total surface area. So keep in mind that a chunk of that is the stabilizer portion. It's not creating lift necessarily. So as compared to another sort of medium aspect foil, we'll say, because of the shape and the span and kind of the effective chord of this, not necessarily the physical chord, but similar to around like a 1200, 1300 medium aspect foil in terms of its speed range, lifting profile, I would say. And with a span of 80 centimeters, it's quite narrow, so it's very nimble. Don't really need to worry about throwing a wingtip out, breaching a wingtip or anything like that. And just the way it rolls and connects turns from edge to edge, and just wants to roll into some kind of a turn all the time, is really special and fun and unique as compared to other foils in the industry. The X1 is much more into carving and connecting turns, and really is quite limitless in terms of the type of turns you can make. Sometimes with a traditional foil, the length of the fuselage, the size of the stabilizer, can kind of limit you in terms of your turning radius, what kind of turns you can make, especially at higher speeds. The X1 is very nimble. It is very surfy. You're really pretty limitless in terms of the types of speed you can carry into a turn, out of a turn, linking turns, what your turning radius might be. Very, very loose in the yaw. So no matter where you turn your hips and shoulders, that's where the foil is going to go. There's no fuselage and stabilizer out here, making that more directional. So this is a little bit more twitchy than your traditional style foil. I wouldn't necessarily put this, under the feet of a brand new rider, never ridden a foil before. It'd be possible, but not quite as easy, just because it is a little bit more twitchy and unpredictable. You want to be on your game at all times, especially in any kind of cross current, weird wave action. You want to pay attention to what's going on and give it direction, not let it gives you a direction. Whereas, more traditional foil, kind of just point it and lean, and it's going to sort of do its thing. This is much more active in your attention to what the foil is doing and what you want it to do. You got to drive it, don't let it drive you, okay? So who is the X1 for? I would say number one, most thing I'm excited about it for, or excited for with this foil, is kite foiling. If you see my previous review of the Triton T1, you know that one I felt was a little small for my weight, 200 pounds. For free ride foiling, worked great, a little bit more powered up, cruising around, riding waves, it was phenomenal, where you have a consistent power source. But free riding, doing loops and tacks and jives and all those cool, kind of tricks around the worlds and whatnot, it just lacked that lift and speed range, that glide, I guess I would say, to make those kind of maneuvers easy. It was very nimble, and just flowy and really fun on a bigger wave, but just didn't quite have that low speed lift, that glide that you want to make those tricks easy without stalling. Now the X1 solves most of those problems, just in a larger size, a slightly higher aspect. For me as a heavier rider, T1's amazing for anybody under 160 pounds, so don't get me wrong there. But the X1's like a bigger version of that for us heavier guys. Very free ridey, loose, free, lots of low speed lift, and really fun, in the lighter days, the less powered up days, the smaller waves. If you watch our B-roll, you'll notice I'm gliding through some swell wing foiling, and that, was pretty impressive. As long as you stayed with the energy of the wave, it did quite well. You're not really going to be able to connect multiple sets on a foil like this, because it doesn't really, pump in the traditional sense that you can create, momentum, but you can, reset your mast and get a little higher up in the water so that you can glide with less drag and keep moving without touching down. But yeah, you're not really going to be able to do any kind of like a dock start or pump back out surf foiling this. But I don't really think that matters. It's not really the intention. It's got a totally different riding style than everything else out there. Another thing that this foil is phenomenal for is just any kind of waves. Anytime you're staying on a wave face that has decent energy and you're just ripping turns. So that's, a big proper wake boat that's throwing, a surfable wake, a large surfable wake with a lot of energy. This is going to be an awesome choice for that. It's just because how nimble and tight of turns you can make. You can really shred a small wave in a small space without falling outside of that sweet spot on the wake. So amazing for that. Surf foiling, you're not going to be able to connect waves out the back, but if you're looking for pure, free, limitless turning performance, this thing goes wherever you tell it to. It really is fairly limitless in terms of how tight of a turn you can make. In my experience anyway, you can really rip a tight, hard turn, put it on rail, and it's going to go wherever you tell it to, as long as there's energy in the wave and you're keeping that foil moving. So really special in that regard. You can surf it kind of like a shortboard surfboard or skateboard even. Additionally, winging It's a lot of fun. I would say it's not a foil for everyone by any means in any sport, but winging specifically, very easy to ride actually. I expected it actually to be a little harder to get on foil, to be a little bit more twitchy than it is. It's actually quite confidence inspiring once you get up and start riding it and adapt to it where it wants to be ridden. Winging, I say, the best application for this again is in the waves. I think that's where the performance of this foil shines. That kind of turning performance shines, where you don't need a ton of glide necessarily. You're using, the swell energy, not necessarily your momentum and glide of the foil to carry you through. It's going to be a really fun, dynamic choice in any waves that have any kind of power to keep you moving. So the benefit there, winging, is that you can rip those turns. You can really, surf this foil on the wave without a lot of limitation. Again, you're not really going to downwind this foil. You're not going to connect it between multiple waves necessarily. It's pretty hard to do that just because of, its aspect ratio, its surface area. It just doesn't glide like a high aspect, foil would, wing foiling, like you typically have a high aspect front wing, high aspect stabilizer that's just a glide machine. This is not that, but it's really, really useful on the wave when you stay with the wave energy, and super fun to ride. I really can't wait to get this out in some bigger waves. Our season right now is mainly like 2 to 4 foot stuff, pretty small, gutless, wind chop. But once our season comes, we get into that chest and overhead kind of larger swell with more energy. I would certainly look to this for an on-wave performance type of a foil when that is your primary focus. Just free riding around, it's actually quite functional winging. You can't really go into a jibe expecting just to chill through it and cruise around and look around and say what's up to your buddies, and then, okay, now I can hold my wing and go. It doesn't have that level of glide. It's just not that efficient. It's going to decelerate and want to stall more quickly unless you're on a wave or actively flying the wing, which if you know that, it's not really a big problem. You just need to be a bit more on it in your jibes, and certainly in attack going up into the wind. Plus, the lack of glide going on here. You're not going to do one of those big 50-foot upwind arcs. You want to turn and burn a little faster than that on this particular foil. So again, this isn't a foil for everybody. It's a very specific foil for a very specific type of riding, and anyone looking for a very nimble, fun, carvy, loose ripper of a wave foil. This is a really fun choice to have in your quiver. So if you're, a wave guy, girl, or if you're into, kite foiling and free ride and on waves, this is a super fun choice. In terms of, X1 versus T1, I think, any smaller kite foilers, T1, any larger kite foilers, X1, and certainly any wing foilers, X1 is going to be the go-to choice. We have these in stock here at the shop at the moment. But they aren't a huge volume item, so get them while you can. Check in with us if you're seeing an unavailable message, and we can definitely get you an ETA on when those might be available. But I do expect there's a certain group of people that are just going to be chomping at the bit for this particular foil, especially once they get to try it. If you're in any of those situations where you just have waves with a bit of energy and just want that ripping turning performance, this is a go-to foil for that, especially if you've already got some other foils to cover your other conditions. All right, so this is Tucker at MACkiteboarding.com. If y'all have any questions, put them in the comments section below. You can always pick up the phone, call us, email us at the shop as well. If you've ridden this foil or one of the other Triton products, just let us know. Be interested to hear your feedback in the comments section below. If you're loving it, if you've ridden to friends, what you thought about it, and all of that. So go ahead and interact with us, and we'd love to hear your experience. This has been Tucker with MACkiteboarding, and we'll see you next time.